episode has people in that neighborhood shaken up really to their core. Bauman's been speaking to people. What are you hearing, Allie?
That's right, Maurice, and you heard Alicia talking about the people standing by there, waiting to see if they're able to re-enter their buildings. We've been talking to people who live in the building that is just adjacent to the parking garage, literally right next door. They have an elevator, a freight elevator that's in between them there. One woman told us that she was home at the time. She felt rumbling, she heard rumblings, but she thought it was just the freight elevator going up and down because that happened. So that, that elevator there has that kind of impact on it, and she had seen construction on there earlier in the day. Then her son came over and explained to her what was going on, so she evacuated. She helped evacuate some of her neighbors. One neighbor that we spoke to, who also lives in that building, told us that her apartment started filling up with dust as the parking garage was collapsing. She has right now a hole in her wall in her apartment where you can see cars, right through that hole on the other side. She's standing out here, obviously is not allowed back in her apartment at the moment because of how unsound it is, where you have the wall, open at this point. She was telling us that her 2 cats are still in there, and she's worried sick about them out here right now, waiting to see when she can get back in, what the status of her things are. That woman has been living down here in this apartment for 40 years, she told us. We've also been talking to people who are showing up whose cars are parked inside of that parking garage. One gentleman we spoke to knows for a fact his car is completely totaled because he walked by it earlier before this was completely closed off and saw his car on the first floor just totaled at that point. He was telling us that he's a professional photographer. He has camera gear in there. He has the keys to his apartment actually are in there, so he's not sure how or when he'll be able to get home. We spoke to another gentleman who is a business owner in the area here, and he's been parking his car and his daughter's car there for years at this point, and he is completely devastated because he says he knows the parking attendants, he knows the employees in this garage, and he's known them for years, and they're all such wonderful and kind people and gracious people that he's worried sick about them. We do know, as we've been mentioning, that at least one person who was inside has died. We know at least three other people have been taken to the hospital for injuries who were inside the garage as well. And that gentleman who was talking to us, he says he is also a building owner. He knows something about, structures and stuff. And even though he's been parking in there for years, he never noticed anything structurally unsafe about the building. He never noticed any, concerning cracks or concerning, unstable beams or anything. For example, he said he wouldn't be parking his cars in there and his daughter's car in there if he did think it was unsafe. So he was incredibly surprised to hear that this had happened, and said that, of course, these are all things that as we've been mentioning, property, of course, that's devastating, and gear and cars, of course, that's devastating, but it's truly the human impact and the person and the life that we have lost in all this that is really what is most upsetting and most devastating to people out here. I want to see if our friend Sandy here, who lives in that apartment, is able to chat for 1 minute. All right, if we have the time, I'll run and see if she's able to come over and talk to us really quick here. I'm walking through the scene. Sandy, is it okay if we grab you for 1 quick minute, my dear? All right, she's still talking to people on scene. We'll see if we can come back to her in a little bit. So that's the latest from here now in Lower Manhattan. And Maurice and Christine, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Allie, thank you. In situations like this, Maurice, we often say, it could have been so much worse.
Right.
I know it's very stressful for these families, for these people that live in the area, for the businesses that are surrounding those area, the students and staff at Pace University, not trying to diminish the stress that they're feeling right now. But, you look at the context of what happened today, how apartments were actually, there's now holes in residential units, and you think of how much worse this could have been, and you're somewhat thankful and grateful that it was somewhat contained. But our thoughts, of course, with the family that did lose one of the employees at the parking garage.
One of the 6 workers who were inside the building at that particular time.